Hi there. In this video, I'm going to show you how to get the extra credits for installing System Center Configuration Manager. Um, I'm sure you're using the 2012 R2 version, and how we're going to prove or get credit for this is deploying an application. So we're going to configure SCCM application deployment. Now, I'm going to describe what this video is going to cover. I'm going to show you how to deploy a program from the SCCM server to an SCCM client. So my SCCM server is my domain controller. As you can see, I already have some clients. We're going to be using clients app 1 and app 2. So this is app 1 here. As you can see here, I've already deployed an application, specifically the MySQL installer. It has already been installed. Actually, I can prove this too. Sorry about that. Okay, yeah. See here the MySQL installer. I already have it installed. If I press that, I could actually attempt to install the MySQL database program. This video also describes where to find informative documents and websites to help complete this assignment. I'm going to go ahead and show you these right now. So once I'm done with this video, I will provide links in the description. This will be a YouTube video, so I will provide 6 links for you all. The first one will be the step-by-step guide how to set up SCCM. If you go to Blackboard, if you go to the announcements page, you scroll down and you find this post by Professor Ramanyake. It actually will lead to the same link I'm going to provide. I'm just going to provide for convenience. It goes to this website here, made by this person named Prajwal or Desai. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but this person has been very helpful. He provides this 60-something part documentation to help set up System Center Configuration Manager. The next thing I'm going to show is a specific part of this documentation. It is part 22. If we scroll down to go to part 22, deploying applications, this is what we're going to do. This is the assignment we're trying to complete today. So you can see right here, deploying applications to users using SCCM. And this document will show you what you need to do to configure this. The third link I'm going to provide is a download. The website to download the MySQL server is right here. Looks like this. You just scroll down, press download. Now you don't need to necessarily use MySQL, the MySQL installer. The thing we need to do is use an MSI file, and the easiest and smallest one I could find was the MySQL installer. I mean, it's small and it's pretty quick to use. I mean, you could use SCCM to deploy operating systems actually, which are MSI files or OSI files, but that is not what I'm going to use today. Something quick and simple was an MSI installer, and I used MySQL. However, I will warn you, if you use MySQL installer, it will not install on the client unless you install this program on the client, the Microsoft.NET 4.5.2. You cannot get this from Server Manager on your server. You need to go to this link, and it is right here. So I have the Microsoft.NET Framework 4.5.2. It is an offline installer. You just press download. Make sure you install it on your client, which I already have installed it here. I believe it's in my downloads folder. Yeah, this file right here. Yeah, once it's in your downloads, you just need to double click and install that before you try to deploy this. Fifth link I'll provide. I will provide some troubleshooting websites. I will admit this is a pretty difficult thing to get working, and I actually ran into a lot of trouble when trying to do it myself. So two websites I'm going to provide. I'm going to provide a document that has everything you need to know about how to deploy this thing or to set up deploying applications and how to troubleshoot. There's a troubleshooting section in the bottom. This will be I'm sure this will be a big help to anyone who's having trouble. And then the same person that made the step-by-step guide also has a website that he describes how to fix this or fix it if it's not going wrong. He has a specific problem, or he shows a specific fix if it's going wrong. Also, I'm using this website to show this. This is the problem I ran into. This little website here. If I were when I tried to fix or install this thing, I clicked this here. This link here is what you're supposed to do to install it. It opens a web page, and when I opened it, instead of showing the program, it showed this: cannot connect to application server. If you have this problem, use this documentation and this website here to help you out. Um, if you have more problems, you can always talk to me. I will be happy to give some suggestions. Now, I'm new to this, and I use these things to help me fix this, and it just pretty much randomly started working. So the biggest thing here is to be patient. Um, let's see. Okay, I want not to be rude, but I want to show what this video will not demonstrate. This video is going to be pretty long as it is, and I don't really have the time with this video to show these things. So I'm not going to show how to install SCCM R2 or its required rules and features. This information is provided here within this step-by-step guide. You need to follow these steps here. I would suggest going from steps 1 to 11. Steps 12, you don't need to do that really. The distribution point is configured automatically. That's necessary, but I believe it configures itself automatically. You could double check with this part here, but I believe you don't need it. So to install SCCM, be sure to go through parts 1 to 11. Now part 7, I don't believe the hotfixes are available anymore, but following everything except part 7, going from 1 to 11, I got this to work. This is pretty simple. He gives pictures and stuff on how to install everything, tells you what you need. If you follow these steps, you should do well. Let's see what else. I'm not going to show you how to immediately configure the SCCM console after installation. That is covered with parts 8, 9. Parts 8 and 9 will tell you what to do here. Parts 10 and 11 will show you how to configure clients and to install the thing with clients. The SCCM client installation is automatic so long as the default gateway settings are the same. You need to make sure that your SCCM server and your client machine have the same IPv4 default gateway. Make sure you have the same setting here, or otherwise it won't work. I'm sure you all have installed a firewall server like I have. I'm using this is my default gateway, and just make sure that both the SCCM server and the SCCM client have the same default gateway. That is one warning I will give you now. Now, also one other thing, this video is not going to describe how to fix certain problems with the SCCM configuration that does not pertain to application deployment. This video that is beyond the scope of this video, and as long as you follow this documentation, I'm sure you will do well. But if you run into problems, I'm sure websites like Microsoft TechNet and so forth will be able to help. So let's get started. So I'm going to assume some things with this video. I'm going to assume you've already installed SCCM. I'm going to assume that you've followed the website and you've done these configurations. You have a client installed, as I do here. If you go to Assets and Compliance, go to Devices, you should see that you have the client says yes here, and it shows the status is active. That's when you know you can do this. You can deploy an application to a client. Now, site system roles. If you go to administration, sites, site configuration, servers and site system roles, you need the application catalog web service point and the application catalog website point. These are easy to install. The part 9 will help you. Part 9 of this documentation will show you how to do that. And yeah, I've already said this, but yeah, parts 1 to 11, I believe you've already gone through. I'm assuming you've gone through all this and you're ready to deploy the application. Okay, now I'm going to give you some very kind warnings here. As I said, I went through a lot of trouble in installing this thing, so let me tell you this now. Before you try to do any of this, you will save yourself a lot of grief if you ensure two things. Now, number one, you need to make sure that the roles you configured are working. Now, I don't know why, but today I'm getting a critical warning on here. The application catalog web service point. This was green when I actually got this to work, and it still, actually I tested it today, it still works. I don't know why it's critical. If you go to component status, if you scroll down, what's different between then and now is that the this component, the A web service control manager, if this is critical, then this will not work. But it says it's online, and I'm assuming that's why it worked. It works. If you can do this, if you can go to the IIS, console, you will see that you will have two websites pertaining to the application catalog role, application catalog and application catalog service. This is the website I tested, and if this works, that means you could do this. If it shows the warning I gave you earlier, if it shows this, then you have problems. And I'll show you how. I'll tell you the thing I did to fix this. Now, you will need to ensure the following roles and features are installed from Server Manager on the SCCM server. So you need the IIS role, as I showed. This whole thing is heavily based on it. The applications are deployed via online services, so you need to make sure these websites are up and running. Second thing you need, if you go to on your domain controller, you need the SCCM server, which I'm assuming is the domain controller. You need to install some rules and features before you try to get the application deployment to work. You need to go to scroll down. I'm sorry about that. You go to the add rules and features, go to server roles, scroll down to web server IIS. Press the web server node here. Press the application deployment node, and you'll see these roles here. ASP. You need to make sure the ASP role, ASP.NET roles, all three of these roles that pertain to ASP, you need these installed before you try this. Actually, it's better if you have these rules and features installed before you install SCCM. If you haven't done that yet, install these roles and features first. After you select the ASP roles, go to Features, go to press the .NET Framework 4.5 Features node. You'll see ASP.NET. That should be checkmarked. Then WCF services. This is important. You need the following features. You need the HTTP activation feature. And I selected this. I don't know if you need it, but you at least need the HTTP activation. I think if you had these two as well, it would be a good idea to install them. I don't know if they're necessary, but just in case, I would install them. Excuse me. Okay. So yeah, be sure to install these rules and features before you attempt to do this. This is the troubleshooting thing that fixed my problems. That's actually, I learned it from this document and some various videos I watched. Also, there is let me see if I can find it. One other thing you need to do after you do that, type this command in the command prompt. I'll show you it on my domain controller. The do this command here, the percent sign windir percent sign, then type the pathway to the Microsoft.net 4.0 program, then type aspnet.regis.exe, then use the /i and /enable. Once you type this command, after you install the roles and type that command, everything should work. If it doesn't, you can always use the troubleshooting websites I'm going to give you. Last warning: if you install the rules and features after you install the application catalogs in SCCM, you will need to be patient and wait for everything to execute correctly. Now, one other thing you can do, you can go to the administration sites, service and site system roles. You can actually remove these roles. It's actually recommended that you remove the roles before you install the roles and features I mentioned earlier, the ASP.NET and the WCF features. It's recommended that you uninstall the application catalog SCCM roles and then reinstall them. I actually didn't do this and just waited. If you uninstall them, it may take a while for the CM application catalog service website to appear. This will not work until this website appears. But yeah, above all, just make sure you're patient and wait for everything to configure. It may take a little while, but after it does, everything should work correctly. Okay, we're going to start now. So necessary components you will need to create in the SCCM console. You will need to create a user collection. You will need the application catalog roles, part 9 of this documentation. We'll show you how to do that. Make sure the IIS website functions properly. Now, when I try to do this one, the application catalog, I get an error that I don't have rights to access it. It still works even though it says that. It's this one, the application catalog. This is the important website. I've already showed you that I can browse it. I'll show it again. So as you can see here, if you see this, if you see your program after you do this all, or if you just see this, your website or your site page, it'll say your organization name, whatever you gave it when you installed this thing. As long as you see all this, when you browse this website, you should be well to go. Yeah, I already mentioned the roles and features. Make sure, I want to say it again, I can't stress enough, install those roles and features before you attempt this. Or if you have attempted it, you may need to uninstall the SCCM application catalog roles. But you probably need to play it by ear how it's going to go. But it may just configure itself if you just leave it alone and wait. So we're going to start with step 1. We're going to configure the user collection. So if you go to the Assets and Compliance menu within this System Center Configuration Manager console, you press User Collections. You see I've already created one, Tyler Users. How you create them, you right-click the User Collections node and press Create User Collection. You type a name, the name of the collection. You just type a name you want. Now, I will warn you, limiting collections, you will need to press this. Press all users and user groups. Then you press next. We'll just type that. Now add rules. You'll need to do a query rule. Let's see. Post number 22, as I showed you the deploying applications, it shows you how to do this actually. So if we create user collection, all users, user groups. Now, this website doesn't give all the screenshots for this, so I will actually walk you through it a little bit to make sure you do it right. This might be a little difficult for some, but so you add rule and query rule like I just did. Then you type a name. Let's see, we'll type a test name. Then you press edit query statement. Let's see. Actually, here. You press criteria, as it says here, and then press the yellow dot. And once you do that, Let me make sure. Yeah, I think I'm matching. Yes. You will need to edit the settings here, so you need to make sure when you're on this window, the criterion properties window, make sure this is simple value. You press select attribute class, user resource, and then attribute. It is I believe, yeah, user group name. Press OK, and then for the value, let's see, press value, and you will see your Active Directory users and groups. You could pick either domain users or admins or whatever you want. I will recommend. I think I read this somewhere. I just thought of this now. We can go to Active Directory users and computers. Whatever group you pick, let's see. I believe domain users is what I used. Make sure you stick your SCCM computer within the group. Whatever group you pick, make sure your SCCM computer is in here. So you would press add object values, you press computers, and you would type your computer name and press OK, and that's what I did. I don't know if that's necessary. I think I read it was, but I would just make sure you do that. I think you're better safe with this stuff. You're better safe than sorry. So you would press domain users, OK. So once this stuff is set, you press OK, and I believe press OK again. I'll double check. Yeah. So after that, you just go through the summary. You press next. It'll create itself and all that. I'm not going to create it because I already have one. So that's how you create the user collection. I just wanted to make sure. It is a little difficult because the post here does not provide all the screenshots to do so. So I hope that will help you out with that. So next, I would recommend you install the MySQL installer right now. So I've already done that. I went to this website. I'll provide the link in the description, as I said before. Just press download. I think I downloaded this one, the smaller one. Let me see. I might have actually installed the bigger one. Let me actually look. I'm not entirely sure which one I installed, but how big is it? I believe I installed the yeah, I installed the community, not the web community, but the community installer. Be sure to get the one on the bottom. And if you're using MySQL for the application deployment, as I said before, it will not install unless you install the Microsoft.NET Framework 4.5.2 offline installer from Microsoft's website right here. Just press the download and install it on your computer before you do anything else. Yeah, it's necessary to run a MySQL installer or install the MySQL installer. So step 2, we're going to create an application now. So we're going to go to software library. Now, when you press applications, you need to create a folder. Just type the name of the folder. I already have one. It's MySQL deployment. And you can see here I already have a deployed or an application ready to deploy. It's actually deployed already. As you see here, I've already successfully deployed it to a target. Actually, I've successfully deployed it to 2 targets. Actually, it doesn't show that, but I actually installed it on my storage server and my app 1. So let's go back to this documentation here. I have the post that describes how to set up everything with the application deployment. So this window here, you need to provide the you need to first create the application. So right click your folder, create application. It's an MSI file. Just browse it. Very important here. Very, very important. You cannot just press browse and press this PC and discover the folder that you're using. If you did this, it will not work. If you notice here, it wants you to you need to use a shared folder. The application you install needs to be in a shared folder. So I'm gonna demonstrate this right here. I'm in File Explorer. So MySQL, I have the MySQL installer in a folder called MySQL. Press the sharing tab. Make sure that it is shared. For simplicity, you could just press full control for everyone for the share. Security, I highly recommend that your administrator user has full control. Yeah, just make sure, and even creator, just make sure your administrator user or the user that you're going to use to install this thing has full control over this, just to make sure everything goes well. But above all, make sure when you type this in, you need to use the UNC path, EC1. So you press SQL, you press the installer. So this is what you need. You need to have a share path, because you're sharing this program with other users. You have to have it shared. If you do not create the application with the shared document, it will not work. So we're going to press next. Now I've already deployed this thing, so we're just going to cancel because I don't need to do this. I've already done it. That was one thing I wanted to make sure you do correctly, because it is something that if you don't do, this will not work. Sorry about that. Okay, just plugging in a computer. Okay, so we're gonna continue on. So yeah, we're gonna create a folder, install the application. I highly recommend you use an MSI file, which is the MySQL. This is what the MySQL installer is. As you saw, if you go back, if you press create application, there are many other types of files you can use. I don't really know how to use the other ones. I think they would work about the same, but they would probably require a lot more configuration. I highly recommend using the .msi file. It is a lot simpler. You can also manually specify application information, which allows you to do .exe files. However, that's a lot more complicated, and I think it requires scripting, which is something I'm not very familiar with. So for simplicity, I highly recommend you just use an MSI file, or more specifically the one I recommended, the MySQL installer. You can use whatever you want, but for simplicity, I recommend the MySQL MSI installer. Okay, step 3. We're going to deploy the application now. So you scroll down in the documentation I provided here, part 22 of the step-by-step guide for setting up SCCM. After you go through all that, after you create the user collection, or did I skip something here? Okay. So after you go through all this, after you create the application, you need to right-click it and press deploy. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate that. I've already deployed it, so I'm not going to completely go through this wizard. So yeah, you have your installer name. The collection, you will need to make sure you select your collection. Now, because this collection has already been used, I'm going to have to use this one just to demonstrate how to do this. Yeah, just leave that checked, press next. Now, the documentation does not show how to do the content page. That's what I'm going to show off. You need to press add distribution point. Now, I've already done this. My distribution point's already been used here, so you will find right here your SCCM server. You need to check mark it and press OK. So that's all I'm able to show from this. The deployment settings, you need to make sure you select install and available, and right click this. I'm sorry, click this check mark. Everything else is pretty much just defaults. You could just leave it alone, go all the way down to the summary, let it install, and then it should complete successfully. So that's how you deploy. That's how you deploy your application. Okay, step 4. Now we need to install the deployed software in the client. So what you would do, you would go to your the computer you wish to install it on. It needs to be a SCCM client. So in other words, I already showed this, but I'm going to show it again. You go to Assets and Compliance, Devices. The computer you try and install this one needs to show this. It needs to be show yes under client and have active status. The devices actually, if you just have them on and they have the same default gateway as your server, your SCCM server, they should just automatically install themselves as clients, but it may take a little while. So to get to the Software Center tool, you need to press Start, press down for all programs. So yeah, Software Center, that's how you find it. I already have it open, and it's actually already pinned to my taskbar for easy reference. So as you can see here, it actually already shows this, the application to install. If you were to open this first time you open this, you will need to click this little link to find additional applications from the application catalog. Now, as I said before, this is where things go wrong. You may try to open this web page and you will get this. I'll describe what to do. I already described what you should do. You make sure you have all the roles and features installed. If you do have everything installed, you should be able to see this page here. You'll see available software. I already have this installed, and that's why it's not available, because it's already installed on here. Yeah, I've already successfully installed the MySQL installer. I can prove that by going to all programs again. Yeah, see, I already installed this. I'm not going to completely install it because I don't need this thing on here. But I already have the installer installed. So on member 2, I do not have this installed. I'm not going to actually install it. I'm going to show you what to do here. Now, when you do the same thing, you go to Software Center. You click this little link. Find additional applications from the application catalog. Your web page will appear. You see the MySQL installer if that's what you picked. You'll see your deployed application here. Now, what's going to be different for you is you're going to see something. You're going to see this button. It's not going to say install. It's going to say request. And the documentation here actually shows this. So see here, it says request. So you actually, the way this works in the real world, when applications like this are deployed with SCCM, users will actually request it. They'll go to this website and request the software. So they'll create an application request. You don't need to type anything in your window, but you can if you want to. You might want to I did type a little thing. I don't think you need to, but you can if you want to. So you just press submit, and then you get this. So this is all done. I want to reiterate, this is all done on the client machine from the Software Center. Software Center on the client machine. After you've submitted the request, you will need to go back to your SCCM server. If you go to Software Library, you'll see something called Approval Requests. You will actually see the requests appear here. So if you see here, what you would do, you would right-click the request, you would press Approve. You'll be given this window. You can type a little something if you want. Make sure this says Approve. Just press OK, and you will get this. Approved. The status is approved. So after you do that, you would go back to your SCCM client. It will now show install. This may take a little loading time. It did for me, but just in case, just make sure you're patient. Oh, you will need to refresh this page. You actually, if you press F5, I don't think it'll refresh. I don't think this will work either. It just oh yeah, it works. Okay. Do not press F5. Press this refresh, because pressing F5 for me made the page blank. If it makes the page blank still, you could just X out and press this link again, and it'll bring up this page again. So after that, you press install. I'm sorry about that. Just press install. It'll ask you if you want to install it. It'll go through this thing. Now, if you didn't install the Microsoft.NET thing I recommend you do, it would say it can't do this. So I'm gonna go to app. You can actually go back to the software center and see it actually installing itself. I'm gonna cancel it because I don't want this on here. This is a node. This is one of my nodes in my cluster. I don't want this on here. I've already shown you that I've already installed it. It's as simple. It's just as simple as I'm pressing install and I'm watching it download and install itself. After this, uh, yeah, it'll say the application started. After you have it installed, you will see this in your software center. You see installation status or installed software. As you can see, I already have the application installed. It says, yeah, it already says that. And that's basically what you do to prove that your SCCM configuration is working. Yeah, now I'm going to give a few troubleshooting tips. I've actually already said these things already throughout this video, but let me say them one more time. Yeah, as I said before, this thing can be difficult, it can be finicky, and it can go wrong. If you go to monitoring and see, huh, what do you know? It says it's okay now. What do you know? As you recall earlier in this video, it actually showed this thing was in critical condition. If your setup is not working, that's what you will see. It's kind of surprises me. It says it's okay now. Yeah, if you already have all this installed, let me say this now. You might need to give this a few minutes to let this thing realize that hey, it's actually I'm working. Yeah, it may take this stuff to a minute to realize it's actually working. Yeah, this is still in a warning state, but this is always working, and I had to prove to the SCCM server it's working. The application catalog's working. But yeah, if everything is not working, what you will see is this will be critical. If you go to component status, two of these will be not working. One of them will be the control manager for the A web service. Let me see. This may actually show which ones are not working. Actually, it doesn't. Oh, it does. If your if your application catalog is not working, you get this when you try to look it up on the client or even on the main server. These two services will not be working. The Portal Web Control Manager will not be working. And the Web Control Manager both of these will be in critical condition. As you can see here, this one actually was working on my computer. It was just fine. This was in a warning state, but it still works. If you check some logs, actually there are logs. Let me. Oh, I'm sorry. One way you could troubleshoot this stuff is actually going through logs. If you go through the C drive, program files, Microsoft Configuration Manager, logs, you have a bunch of logs. Now you notice you can't open them unless you use a specific tool, and let me show you where that is. You go back through this C drive, program files, Microsoft Configuration Manager. You'll see this folder called tools. You'll see this little tool called cmtrace.exe, and you can open log files with it. Typically, there's a bunch of them. Now, I'm not going to cover all the ones that you need to look at, but this is one of them here. We're going to open it, and you can look for just look through this stuff. Look at things that are highlighted in red. That typically means there's a failure or something. Not always, I don't think, but it means something may be wrong. And if you have those, if you get those warnings, get these specific warnings so you can use this website to help you out. Yeah, also make sure you install the roles and features. Let me say it one more time. Install the roles and features I warned you about it here. You need to make sure you have IIS on the SCCM machine or server. I'm sorry. Make sure you have the ASP roles. Let me show you again. They are under the IIS web server IIS node. You press web server again, application development, and then here they are. go to features, .NET Framework 4.5 features, WCF services. You need the HTTP activation and maybe the TCP activation port sharing. I don't know for sure, but you might want those just in case. At least the activation one. So, one other thing you would need to do is type this command within your command prompt. I already showed it. Right here, I already typed it in. That may actually be what fixed my thing. I don't think it was actually broken. It was still working even in critical state like that, but it's a little weird. So yeah. One other thing. Yeah, I already showed you the CM Trace program that can help you look at logs. One more tip, or a few more tips. I am going to provide website links within this YouTube video. These number 5 and 6 in particular are for troubleshooting. Number 3 and 4 are for installing the programs you need to deploy MySQL installer. And then number 1 and 2 are just the guides to help you configure all this stuff. But another thing you could do is explore Microsoft TechNet websites. And I will warn you, a lot of people are going to complain about different things. You will see repeating information. But I think as long as you install the rules and features I told you about before you try any of this, everything should go well. If it doesn't, one other thing you can let me know, or Professor Ramanake, you can let one of us know. If I'm allowed, I'd be more than happy to provide you any help I can. But I can't guarantee I'll be able to solve anything. But I will guarantee one thing. This document here, I'd say, is the most important thing the best thing I can give you. It describes application deployment, or the application catalog and application deployment. It is very helpful for setting this up, and this is actually the thing that helped me fix my problems and got me to where I got this. I hope this video showed you how to install or get the application deployment configuration working on SCCM. Thank you very much for watching this, and have a good day.